Tencent Holdings is said to have applied for a license in Malaysia to offer local payment services via its WeChat Pay. This would be a first endeavor for the platform outside of China. Director of WeChat Pay's global operation, Grace Yin, told Reuters if it gets the green light, users in Malaysia will be able to link their local bank accounts to WeChat Pay and pay for goods and services in ringgit. She was quoted as saying that Malaysia has a large Chinese community, which is why the company chose it to be its testbed. WeChat Pay and its rival Alibaba Group's Alipay are China's mobile payment giants. The two companies are phasing out the use of cash by enabling payments or money transfers via code scan. Just last month, Alipay announced that 100 merchants in Malaysia are now accepting its digital payments. However, this has little impact on Malaysian consumers for now, as Alipay's focus is still on Chinese tourists. Maybank Investment Bank expects EcoWorld International to report its maiden profit in the second half of FY18 with the progressive completion of its London City Island project. Elsewhere, the developer's Yara One project in Melbourne, Australia has received decent bookings of some 34% since end May 2017. Maybank analyst Wong Wei Shum says FY18 is the year for the developer, which should see earnings coming in the second half. Plus, the transition from Brexit should be more settled by the end of 2018, before the actual event in March 2019. In the first half of this fiscal year, EcoWorld International saw net loss narrow to 30.88 million ringgit. Wong believes that losses in the second half of FY17 should shrink further on lower interest expenses and the absence of one-off listing expense. The research house is keeping its earnings forecast and target price for the stock at RM1.12. Lotte Chemical Titan Holding is betting on Southeast Asia as a strong demand growth area for its products for the next 3 years. The company, which returned to Bursa's main board today, has a core business in the production of polyolefin. Vice President Philip Kong says that given the strong growth demand, the SEA market is able to absorb supply coming in from its expansion plans in Malaysia and Indonesia. He was responding to criticism that the market for polyolefin is in oversupply and hence the subdued investor interest in Lotte's IPO. As the IPO proceeds were lower than the initially planned 5.9 billion, Lotte had cut down allocation funds to its integrated petrochemical facility in Indonesia from 4.9 billion ringgit to 2.8 billion ringgit. However, Kong is confident that the group has enough internal funding to make up for the shortfall. After a very subdued opening, the stock closed at 6 ringgit 38 cent, down 1.9% from its 6 ringgit 50 IPO price. Moody's says should the proposed merger between MBSB and Asian Finance Berhad go through, competition for deposits among smaller Islamic banks will get more intense. However, Moody's VP and senior analyst Simon Chen expects profitability to remain robust. He also expects MBSB's credit profile to be enhanced as acquiring AFB and its Islamic banking license will give MBSB access to cheaper funding and broader revenue stream. Chen adds that broader sector consolidation is unlikely for now because the favorable operating environment will allow standalone Islamic institutions to fare well on their own, and that the proposed MBSB-AFB merger is driven by unique circumstances that are not shared by other Islamic banks in Malaysia. This merger would create the country's second largest standalone Islamic bank with total asset of 47.8 billion ringgit just after Bank Islam Malaysia. Over in Singapore, ex-BSI wealth planner Yeo Jia Wei is expected to plead guilty tomorrow to money laundering charges linked to 1MDB. The 34-year-old was already convicted back in December last year on 4 counts of witness tampering. He was sentenced to 30 months of jail time for his attempt to hamper investigations related to 1MDB's fund flows. Prosecutor had described Yeo as a central figure in a complex web of cross-border fund flows involving money siphon from 1MDB. Following a 2-week trial, the judge described him as a rainmaker in the saga. Yeo received a stiffer sentence out of the 5 1MDB-related convictions in Singapore so far. Earlier, he had filed an appeal against his conviction and sentencing. The appeal hearing was earlier scheduled for August 5th. It is not clear if this appeal will continue following his expected guilty plea tomorrow.